Can you make the payment this week, Mrs. Hayes? The clipped, brisk tone of the hospital finance manager, Ms. Evelyn Reed, sliced through the antiseptic hush of St. Mary's, demanding $10,000. Jarina felt a cold burn spread from her temples to her fingertips. A different kind of ache than the one that had settled in her chest after the past 48 hours of humiliation. Her voice, when it came, was a stranger's, calm, steady, and edged with the kind of resolve she hadn't known she possessed. "I don't have any family in New York." The words hung in the sterile air, momentarily silencing the relentless chatter of the city outside her small Nashville kitchen window. She set the old rotary phone back into its cradle, her hand trembling slightly. A tremor that had nothing to do with the bitter coffee she'd just made, and everything to do with the quiet revolution brewing inside her. For the first time in her 61 years, she had said no to her son, and the world had not in fact ended. The sky was still the same fragile blue of dawn, the neighbor's dog still barked its usual morning greeting, and she was still breathing. But something fundamental had shifted. The familiar ache in her chest, a constant companion for the past few years, had momentarily given way to a strange, exhilarating lightness. This seismic shift had begun in the fluorescent-lit corridor of that very same New York hospital just 2 days prior. She had traveled 12 hours on a Greyhound bus, the stale scent of old oil and forgotten food clinging to her worn tweed coat. The hard seat a familiar torment against her lower back. 12 hours she had spent staring through a fogged window, watching the landscape blur town's mountains, endless ribbons of highway. Each mile bringing her closer to a moment she'd rehearsed 1,000 times. The meeting. The first glimpse of her grandson. She'd pictured it all with vivid, almost painful clarity. The weight of his tiny body in her arms, the sweet milky scent of his hair, the impossibly soft skin against her cheek. Her son Barnaby, his face alight with fatherly pride, introducing his baby boy to his mother. His wife Serafina, tired but radiant, perhaps even grateful for Jarina's quiet, helping presence. She had imagined everything except what actually happened. Barnaby's voice had been a distant, almost disembodied sound, even though he stood only steps away. "Mum, Serafina just wants her immediate family here." His eyes, the same warm hazel eyes she'd seen open 32 years ago. The eyes that had once shone with an unburdened love, now avoided hers, filled with a shame that stung worse than any shouted anger. He looked at her as if she were a problem to be managed, a burden to be removed, a secret to be hidden. And just when she hoped to find a trace of the boy who once adored her, a flicker of remorse, he'd finished the sentence that had shattered her heart. "Please don't push, Mom. She's never liked you." The world had gone silent. Then the hospital's chaotic symphony fading into a muted hum. Footsteps became distant echoes. She had stood frozen, feeling something inside her crack, splintering into a million sharp shards. The first cry of her grandson had come from behind a closed door, a fragile mule that signified a new life, a new beginning from which she was explicitly excluded. Jarina, the woman who had paced barefoot across cold floors, humming made-up lullabies through countless nights of her son's baby cries. The woman who had nursed fevers and rushed to emergency rooms was now forbidden entry. That moment, that cold, quiet rejection, felt like the culmination of years of slow, almost imperceptible erosion. Her name was Jarina Hayes, 61 years old, born in a small Nashville house with a wide yard and an old apple tree. She'd grown up with the scent of flour and cinnamon, learning life's gentle lessons at her mother's elbow. At 22, she married Elias, a quiet man with kind hands and a steady heart. Barnaby, their son, arrived when she was 29, and from that moment her life had revolved around him, Elias had died suddenly, quietly of a heart attack when Barnaby was 15, like a door closing without a sound. It had just been the two of them after that, a mother and son against the world. She'd sold their small hardware store a modest but steady income to cover debts and secure Barnaby's future. She took any job she could find, cleaning dental offices in the pre-dawn hours, her hands raw and smelling of disinfectant, then working afternoons as a receptionist, returning home with aching feet and a perpetually sore back. But she always smiled for Barnaby, because he was her reason for everything. And now that same son looked at her with eyes full of distance, a chasm she couldn't bridge. She hadn't screamed, hadn't reminded him of every sacrifice, every sleepless night. Her mother had once told her, "Sometimes silence is dignity." Jarina had swallowed the burning tears behind her eyes, refusing to let them fall. She would not let anyone see her break. She'd picked up her old dark brown leather purse, the one her mother had given her for her 30th birthday, saying, "Carry this with you during the important moments of your life." It had been with her when Barnaby was born, when he graduated, when he left for New York, and now again it bore witness to her humiliation. She turned and walked down the long corridor of St. Mary's, the flickering lights overhead illuminating a path she now walked alone. The February wind had hit her face like a physical blow when she stepped outside. She'd stood on the sidewalk watching cars stream past, people bustling in and out of the hospital life, continuing its indifferent dance as hers seemed to collapse. With nowhere to go until her bus home the next day, she'd hailed a cab to a cheap hotel, a small room with thin walls and a squeaky bed. Laughter and television from the hallway had filtered through, mocking her solitude. That night she cried harder than she had since Elias died. Tears for broken expectations, for the grandson she hadn't met, for the son who had once said, "I love you, Mum," for the teenager who had wept in her arms the night his father passed. Where was that son now? When had he become this stranger? She couldn't sleep, stared at the ceiling, listening to the city's incessant hum, replaying every moment, every subtle slight, every empty promise. In the morning, she took a long, hot shower, trying to wash away the grief. She wore the navy blue dress she'd bought for the occasion, put on light makeup, a small act of defiance. She wouldn't look defeated. Down for breakfast, a weak coffee and stale pastry she couldn't eat. The day passed in a blur of wandering park benches, shop windows, families strolling by, each image a fresh wound. By evening, she was back at the bus station, the familiar dread returning. Everyone had someone. She had only an empty house waiting in Nashville. The 12-hour journey home was different this time. She didn't stare out the window dreaming of joy. She only saw her reflection. A tired woman, 61, worn down and alone. She wondered if Barnaby even realized she was gone. Did he feel regret? Did he think she deserved better? Deep down, she knew the answer. Probably not. He was likely happy with his new family, and she had become an uncomfortable memory, quickly forgotten. She arrived home at dawn. Everything was exactly as she'd left it. The unwashed coffee cup, yesterday's newspaper, the suffocating silence. Once that silence had meant peace. Now it was just loneliness. She set down her suitcase, hung the leather purse on its hook, made a cup of coffee, and sat at the kitchen table where Barnaby once did his homework while she cooked dinner. Now it was just her. The house felt heavier than ever, saturated with ghosts of laughter and whispered secrets. The memories came unbidden, a torrent of vivid images, each one a sharp contrast to her current reality. There were moments she held like perfect photographs, frozen in time from when life was simpler, when love hadn't yet learned to wound. Barnaby's birth, a July morning 32 years ago. It had stormed so hard that thunder rattled the windows, mimicking the frantic rhythm of her contractions. Elias, her dear Elias fumbling for keys and the hospital bag, trying to stay calm even as his hands trembled. "Calm down, Elias," she'd gasped, breathing through a wave of pain. "We still have time." But they didn't. The rain had drenched them within seconds as he helped her down the stairs. Elias drove faster than she'd ever seen him, eyes locked on the road wipers, battling the deluge. "Hang in there, sweetheart. We're almost there." She sat in the back, counting between the waves of pain, the city blurring through the rain-streaked window. All she could think was, soon I'll meet my child. They reached Central Hospital at dawn. Nurses, kind and professional, helped her. "Things are moving fast, ma'am. This baby can't wait to meet you." Elias held her hand throughout, wiping sweat from her forehead, whispering, "You're doing great, sweetheart. You're amazing." And then when her body felt like it was tearing apart, when the pain almost made her faint, she heard it, her son's first cry. "It's a boy," the doctor announced. "A healthy, beautiful baby. They placed him on her chest. Wet, wrinkled, perfect. His tiny fists clenched, his breath quick and fragile. The moment his skin touched hers, when she felt his warmth and heard his desperate breathing, she knew her life had changed forever. "Hello, my sweet boy," she whispered, tears streaming. "Mommy's here." Elias stood beside them, tears on his own face, holding them both in that small hospital room, with the rain still tapping against the windows. They were in that moment the happiest family in the world. They named him Barnaby, after her grandfather, a gentle farmer with rough hands and a kind heart. "I hope he's like Grandpa," she'd told Elias, rocking their baby to sleep. "Kind and generous." Elias had smiled. "With a mother like you, how could he be anything else?" The early years, though, not always easy, were beautiful. Barnaby was a good baby. Hardly cried, slept well. When he was awake, he was curious, always smiling. She remembered mornings in their little house, sunlight streaming through the window as his soft babbling echoed from the crib. Elias left early each day for the hardware store, returning exhausted, but always with a smile for his son. Jorina stayed home, a traditional wife making a home, while Elias earned. She loved it. She loved watching Barnaby learn to sit up, crawl, walk. His first word, "Mama," of course. When Barnaby turned 2, he'd help her cook, which mostly meant making a glorious mess. He'd stand on a little chair, stirring pots with all his might, flour flying his face smeared with smudges as he giggled. They baked lumpy, uneven cookies, calling them their masterpieces. "One day you'll be a better baker than me," she'd said. "I just want to be like you," he'd answered, his small voice earnest. Their home always smelled of vanilla cinnamon coffee and something warm baking in the oven. On Sundays, they'd go to the park, sit under a tree, watching Barnaby chase pigeons, climb slides. Elias and Jorina, hand in hand, would whisper, "We're so lucky." And they truly were. Time, as it always does, rushed by. Barnaby grew from the little boy in her arms into a teenager taller than her. She was the mother who never missed a parent-teacher meeting, brought homemade treats to school fairs, sewed costumes for class plays. Barnaby was a good student, responsible, curious, hard-working. They'd do homework together at the kitchen table. He'd read his essays to her, stories about superheroes, dinosaurs, astronauts. "Do you want to be a writer someday?" she'd ask. "No, Mum. I want to be an engineer." His uncle Alaric, Elias's brother, was a civil engineer, and Barnaby admired him deeply, always asking, "How do bridges not fall down? Why do tall buildings stay standing?" Alaric had once told her, "This kid's going places," and Jorina believed it with all her heart. But when Barnaby was 15, their world collapsed. Elias died suddenly, no warning, no goodbye. That day had started like any other. Breakfast, a kiss on her forehead. See you tonight, sweetheart. That night never came. The call from the store. Mrs. Hayes, please come to the hospital right away. She rushed there with Barnaby. When the young doctor emerged, his face drawn, she knew. We're very sorry. We did everything we could. Your husband passed about 20 minutes ago. Barnaby gripped her hand, a strangled, "Mum." She didn't know how to make him understand that his father wasn't coming back, that their family of 3 had just become 2. They let them see Elias one last time. He lay still, his face peaceful. Barnaby stepped forward, gently touched his father's hand, whispered, "Dad." Then her almost man, still her little boy, collapsed into sobs. The days that followed were a blur. Funeral visitors, financial decisions, selling the store, paying off debts. She sold Elias's hardware store, every wrench and nail a painful reminder. The money covered the debts, the funeral costs, and what was left she saved for Barnaby's future. She swore that no matter how hard she had to work, her son would have the education he deserved. She got a job cleaning a dental clinic. The pay was small, but it was work. She started at 500 a.m., scrubbing floors, bathrooms, windows, surrounded by the sharp smell of bleach. Her hands grew rough. Her back ached constantly, but she didn't complain. She had a son to live for. By 2 p.m., she'd leave the first job and go straight to her evening shift as a receptionist at another clinic, answering phones, scheduling appointments, smiling at patients, even when she was utterly exhausted. She'd get home around 800 p.m., and Barnaby would already have dinner ready, waiting with that same familiar smile. "How was your day, Mum?" "It was fine, sweetheart. How was yours?" In those quiet evenings, just the 2 of them at the kitchen table, she felt that maybe everything would be okay. They still had each other, and that was enough. Barnaby graduated high school with excellent grades, accepted into the civil engineering program at the University of Chicago. "They accepted you?" she'd asked, holding back tears. "We did it, Mum." "You did it," he'd said, hugging her tightly. "I don't know what I'd do without you." "You'll never have to find out. I'll always be here," she'd promised, and she'd meant it. His college years were hard, but full of pride. He studied late into the night at the kitchen table, surrounded by books and cold coffee. Many nights she stayed up with him preparing small snacks, sitting beside him in silence, both tired yet somehow feeling whole. "Do you know what I want to do when I graduate?" he asked one night. "What's that?" "I want to build a bridge, a big one that connects people." "You'll do it, I'm sure of it." He smiled. "And when I do, I'll name it after you." "No," she laughed. "Name it after your dad." He smiled softly. "Then I'll name it after both of you. The Elias and Jorina Bridge. That sounds better." Every Sunday they still went to the park. No old blanket, just long walks and quiet talks under the sun. They were a team, mother and son, against the world. Or at least that's what she believed. In his final year of college, Barnaby started talking about moving to New York. "There are more opportunities there, Mum." "But it's so far." "Not that far. Just a few hours by bus. You know I'll always support you, but I'm scared. You're everything to me." He took her hand. "And you're everything to me, Mum. But I have to do this. I have to grow up." He was right. But that didn't stop her heart from aching. Barnaby graduated with top honors. Jorina sat in the front row, tears streaming as she watched him receive his diploma. She thought of Elias, how proud he would have been. She thought of all those nights mopping floors, all those early mornings, every sacrifice. It had been worth it. 2 months later, Barnaby got a job at a large construction company in New York. Good pay, great benefits. "You did it," she'd said. "We did it," he'd replied. She helped him prepare for everything paid, the apartment deposit, bought furniture, office clothes. She nearly emptied her savings, but didn't regret a cent. It was for her son. The day Barnaby left was one of the hardest of her life. She took him to the bus station, helped with his luggage, sat beside him in the waiting room. When they announced his bus, they hugged for a long time. "Take care of yourself, sweetheart." "You too, Mum. I'll call when I get there. Eat properly, don't live on takeout." "I know. And get enough sleep." "Mum, I'll be fine. I'll miss you so much." "I'll miss you too." He stepped onto the bus, found a seat by the window, and waved goodbye. She stood there watching through the foggy glass, trying to memorize his face. The bus pulled away, shrinking into the stream of traffic until it disappeared. In that noisy station, she felt completely hollow, the loneliest she'd been since Elias's death. She took a taxi home, staring out the window without really seeing anything. The house was heavy with silence. She went into Barnaby's room. His bed neatly made his desk cleared, only a few mementos left. She sat on his bed, still smelling a trace of him, and burst into tears. Tears for her son, leaving for the empty house, for realizing that for 17 years she had lived only for him, and had forgotten how to live for herself. "This is normal, Jorina," she told herself. "Children grow up and leave. That's life." She tried to believe it, to feel proud, to tell herself she had fulfilled her duty as a mother. But deep down, she felt something else. The emptiness wasn't just from his absence. It was a quiet sense that something had changed forever. Maybe her son, the boy who once hugged her in the park, the teenager who cried in her arms, the young man who said, "I couldn't have done this without you," was slowly disappearing. And the man growing up out there in the world would someday be someone she no longer recognized. For the first 3 months, everything seemed fine. Good enough for her to believe distance wouldn't break them. Barnaby called every night after work, always at 9:00 p.m. No matter what she was doing, she'd answer immediately. "Mum, it's me. How was your day?" "Good, sweetheart. How was yours?" They talked about everything. His projects, his co-workers, the fast-paced city that still overwhelmed him. "It's huge, Mum. So many people, so much traffic, so loud." "Do you like it?" "I do, but it's exhausting. Sometimes I miss how quiet Nashville was." "You can always come home, you know. This house is waiting for you." "I know, Mum. Thank you." She'd tell him about her work at the clinic with Constance, her old friend, about the weather, the neighbours, the small things that made up their days. Those simple conversations meant the world to her. They kept the thread between them alive. But weekends were the hardest. Saturday mornings she'd wake to silence, the same silence that had once been filled with Barnaby's footsteps, his music, his laughter. She'd clean the house, even though it was spotless. Cook even though it was just her turn on the TV without really watching. Constance often came by on Sunday afternoons. "Jorina, you need to get out more, meet new people. You can't just stay home waiting for Barnaby's call." "I'm not waiting. I just like the quiet." "Quiet," Constance said softly, smiling sadly. "That's loneliness." Maybe she was right, though Jorina wasn't ready to admit it. Then one Tuesday night, Barnaby didn't call. She waited until 9:30. Nothing. At 10 Hizabro, she texted, "Are you okay?" An hour later, he replied, "Yes, sorry, Mum. I've been really busy." "That's all right. Do you want to talk for a bit?" "I'm exhausted, Mum. Tomorrow." Okay, get some rest." He called the next day, but only for 15 minutes instead of an hour. "Sorry, Mum. I have to finish something for work." "That's fine, sweetheart. I understand." And she did. At least she wanted to believe she did. Work was busy. That was normal. But then the calls became less frequent every other day, then every few days, then just once a week. The change crept in, slowly, quietly, like the tide receding. You don't notice until you're standing on bare sand, wondering when the ocean disappeared. When they did talk, Barnaby's voice sounded distant, drained. "Are you okay? You sound tired." "I'm fine, Mum. Just worn out." "Are you eating properly?" "Yeah." "Sleeping enough?" "Yes, Mum." "Are you sure?" A sigh. "Mum, I'm fine, just really busy." "I understand. I don't want to bother you." "You're not bothering me." But his voice said otherwise. She tried not to call too often, waiting for him to reach out first. But the gaps between calls grew longer. A week, then two, once 18 days. 18 days, waking up each morning hoping the phone would ring, checking messages over and over, wondering if she'd done something wrong, if she'd somehow made him tired of her. When Barnaby finally called, she tried to sound casual. "Oh, what a surprise, sweetheart." "Hi, Mum. How are you?" "I'm fine. You just really busy. Work's overwhelming." "Too busy to call your mother?" she joked, but her voice came out sharper than she meant. Silence. "I'm sorry, Mum. I'm just overloaded." "It's all right. I just miss you." "I miss you too. But you have to understand. Life here's different. I have a lot of responsibilities." "I know. I'm not pressuring you. I just want to hear your voice." "You will. I promise I'll call more often." But he didn't. The calls grew fewer, shorter, emptier, as if with every conversation he drifted a little farther away. Now he no longer told her about his day, and he never asked about hers. The calls became shallow, like a task to check off. "How are you?" "Fine, Mum." "What did you do today?" "Worked." "Anything new?" "No." "Okay, rest then." "Sure. Take care, Mum." And the line would go dead. She'd sit there, phone still in her hand, feeling something invisible but real cracking between them. Then during one of those brief calls, Barnaby said something that made her heart skip. "Mum, I met someone." Her heart clenched, but not from worry, from joy. Her son had met someone. "Really, I'm so happy for you. Tell me everything." She heard genuine excitement in his voice. "Her name's Serafina. She's an architect. We work together." "That's wonderful, sweetheart. What's she like?" "She's amazing, Mum. Smart, talented, beautiful. She's 28, graduated from Columbia University." Barnaby was 24. Serafina was 4 years older, but Jarina didn't mind. "I'm so happy for you. How long have you two been together?" "About 2 months." 2 months, and he was only telling her now. "Is everything going well?" "Very well, Mum. I'm really happy. I haven't felt like this in a long time." The joy in his voice moved her deeply. She was genuinely happy, because every mother only wants one thing for her child to be happy. "I'd love to meet her someday." There was a brief silence. "Of course, Mum, there'll definitely be a chance later." "Later?" "Yes, Mum. It's still a bit early. We're just getting to know each other." "All right. Whenever you're ready." "Thanks for understanding. Send me a picture of you two." "Maybe later, Mum. I have to go now. Serafina's waiting." Serafina's waiting. Those 2 words cut through her, though she couldn't explain why. "All right, sweetheart. Have fun." "Thanks, Mum. Love you." "Love you too." He hung up before she could say another word. She sat there staring at her phone, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Her son had a girlfriend. That should have been good news. So why did her chest feel so heavy? She told herself it was only a mother's natural worry, the unease that comes when her child enters a serious relationship. But no, something was different. It was in the way he said her name, the tone when he mentioned Serafina's waiting, as if she had become the center of his world, and Jarina was just a shadow fading in the background. In the weeks that followed, her fear quietly came true. Barnaby barely called anymore, and when he did, he only talked about Serafina. Serafina and I went to this restaurant. Serafina showed me this place. Serafina said, everything was Serafina. Jarina still listened, still smiled, still asked questions, but deep inside she felt herself slowly disappearing from her son's life. She'd text him, and he'd reply hours later, sometimes days. Sorry, Mum. I've been busy with Serafina. She tried to learn about Serafina from the few details Barnaby shared. Serafina came from a well-off family in New York. Her father was an architect too. Her mother a poised college professor, and her younger sister was in medical school. A family nothing like theirs, wealthy, educated, respected. Jarina was just a working woman, a widow who raised her son alone, cleaning clinics, while Barnaby went to school on scholarships. She wondered what Serafina would think if she knew about her. She tried to push the thought away, but it lingered, especially as Barnaby shared less and less. One evening, while they were on the phone, she heard a woman's voice in the background. Barnaby, I'm heading out. Coming, sweetheart. Jarina froze. Is Serafina there? Yes, Mum. She stopped by. Oh, I didn't know you two were living together. Silence for a few seconds. We're not, Mum. She just came to visit. I see. Another awkward pause. Mum, I have to go now. We're heading out. All right, have fun. Thanks. Talk later. But that later never came. The next month, Barnaby grew even more distant, almost completely gone from her life. On her 60th birthday, he didn't come home. He just sent flowers through the mail. 12 yellow roses, one for each month they hadn't seen each other. The card read, Happy birthday, Mom. Sorry I can't be there. Serafina and I are busy with work. Love, Barnaby. She sat looking at the bouquet for hours. The flowers were beautiful, surely expensive, but cold. No warmth, no affection. Just a reminder that her son was far away, busy, building a new life. Constance, her closest friend, arranged a small dinner at her house, inviting a few neighbours. They ate chicken soup, sang happy birthday, cut the cake. Everyone asked, Your son didn't come home. He's busy with work. That's too bad. He must miss you so much. Jarina smiled and said, I'm sure he does. But in her heart, she didn't believe it anymore. When everyone left, she cleaned up alone. The house was spotless, but her heart felt empty. She sat down with a cup of hot tea, and she allowed herself to admit what she'd been avoiding all along. Her son was slipping away, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. Worse yet, she began to realize she might not be able to hold on at all. When someone decides something else matters more than you, no matter what you do, they'll still walk away. All you can do is watch them leave and try not to break. The roses wilted slowly, their petals turning brown and falling one by one. She should have thrown them away. Anyone else would have. But Jarina kept them, letting them dry in the vase like proof of something she couldn't yet admit, that the boy who once called her every day, who used to say, I couldn't do anything without you, was gone. At least gone from her. Sometimes she thought we make ourselves believe lies because the truth hurts too much. We convince ourselves it's our fault, that we did something wrong, because it's easier to change ourselves than to accept that someone we love is hurting us. Jarina reached that point after her 60th birthday. Sitting in the kitchen, staring at those withered roses, she came to a conclusion. It was her fault. She must have called too often, asked too many questions. She was the clingy kind of mother, the kind who didn't know how to let go, who loved so much it suffocated. Barnaby needed space independence, and she always wanting to stay close to talk had made him tired. The story fit perfectly with everything she'd read in parenting articles. Learn to let your grown children go. Don't be a controlling mother. Let them live their own lives. So she decided to do just that. She stopped calling altogether. If he wanted to talk, he would call her. She wouldn't push anymore. A week passed, then 2, then 3, then a month. She checked her phone countless times, but kept telling herself, "Give him time. He's just busy." Many days it was hard to breathe from the emptiness. Every morning she woke with a heavy heart, wondering if today he'd call. She went to work, came home, looked at her phone. Still nothing. Constance noticed right away. "Jarina, how long has it been since your son called?" "About a month." "Why don't you call him?" "I want to give him space. I don't want to bother him." Constance looked at her with those eyes that had known her for 40 years. "Or maybe you're punishing yourself for needing him." "No, I'm just respecting his space." "There's a difference between respecting space and erasing yourself from his life, Jarina." "So what do you want me to do? Call him and bother him?" "I just want you to remember missing your child isn't a sin." Jarina stayed silent. Constance sighed. "I don't know what Barnaby's thinking, but I do know one thing. It's not your fault. You're a good mother, one who always loved her son." Jarina wanted to believe her. She really did. But blaming herself was easier. By the 5th week, the phone finally rang. It was Barnaby. Her heart pounded wildly, her breath quickened. She took a few deep breaths before answering, trying to sound calm, as if she hadn't been counting every day, waiting for this call. "Hi, sweetheart." "Hi, Mum. How are you?" His voice was light, cheerful, as if nothing had happened. "I'm fine. And you?" "Good. Really good. Actually, I'm calling because I have some news." Her chest tightened. "What is it, honey?" "Serafina and I are getting married." The world stopped. The ticking clock, the hum of the refrigerator, the dog barking outside, all faded. "Mum, are you still there?" "Yes. Yes, I am. Sorry. I'm just surprised." "A good surprise, right?" She swallowed hard. "Of course. Congratulations, sweetheart. I'm so happy for you." And she was happy, but also confused, scared, and aching. Happy that he'd found love. Afraid that everything was changing too fast, and aching because she barely knew the woman who would share his life. In her head, one question echoed silently. Will there still be a place for me in this new life? Thanks, Mum. I'm so excited. The wedding will be in 3 months. Just something simple in New York with close family and friends. Of course I'll be there. A short pause. Great. I'll send you the details by email. Email. Yes, Mum. Serafina's organizing everything online. It's easier that way. I see. But she didn't see it all. Anyway, I have more people to call and tell the news. You've told others already? Yeah, Serafina's parents, her sister, a few friends, and your mother finds out last. The words slipped out before she could stop them. Mum, please don't start. I'm not starting anything, I'm just asking. It doesn't sound like asking. Mum, you're important to me, but I have a lot to handle right now. Not everything revolves around you. Those words hit her like a blow. I never said everything revolved around me. Then don't take it so personally. How can I not, Barnaby? I'm your mother. Exactly. You're my mother, not my wife. Serafina is my priority now. The room went silent, heavy, suffocating, full of things neither of them could say. Mum, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I'm just stressed about the wedding. There's too much to do. Too much going on. I understand. Really. Thanks, Mum. Love you. Love you too. She heard the long tone of the call ending but kept the phone pressed to her ear, feeling her heart crack a little more. Her son was marrying a woman she'd never met in a wedding she hadn't been part of planning, and she still had to smile and congratulate him, because that's what a mother is supposed to do. 2 days later, she received the invitation by email. It was elegant and beautifully designed in soft beige and gold tones. There was a photo of Barnaby and Serafina, her son beaming with joy. Serafina radiant in a white dress, soft curls falling over her shoulders. They looked happy in love. And Jarina, staring at that photo, felt like an outsider. The card read, Barnaby Hayes and Serafina Thomas cordially invite you to their wedding. No, dear Mum. No. We can't wait to share this special day with you. Just cordially invite. As if she were a distant acquaintance, a colleague, a name on a list. She printed the invitation, not sure why. Maybe to see it with her own eyes and believe it was real. She pinned it to the refrigerator door with a magnet. Each time she passed through the kitchen looking at it made her chest tighten all over again. A week later, she gathered her courage and called Barnaby. Sweetheart, I got the invitation. Oh, good. What do you think? It's beautiful. But I wanted to ask, do you think I could meet Serafina before the wedding? Maybe we could have coffee, get to know each other a little. Silence for a few seconds. That's tough, Mum. Serafina and I are swamped cake-tasting flowers. Photographers, everything's chaos. I understand, but that's why I thought I could help. After all, I am your mother. I know, but Serafina has her own ideas. Her mum's helping a lot too. You know how brides are. They want everything perfect. Jarina froze. Her mum's helping, but I'm not. You'll have plenty of time to get to know each other after the wedding, Mum. When things settle down. All right then. I guess I'll see you both at the wedding. But could I at least call her beforehand? It would be nice to introduce myself. Another uncomfortable pause. I'll ask. But she's really stressed. I don't want to add more pressure. Pressure? The words stung as if her very existence was a burden. That's fine, sweetheart. I don't want to cause trouble. You're not causing trouble. It's just, you know. No, I don't know. I really have to go, Mum. Talk soon. Okay, take care. She set the phone down and realized her hands were trembling not from cold, but from anger, pain, and helplessness. No matter what she said or did, she was being pushed to the edges of her own son's life. And the worst part was he didn't even notice. Or maybe he did and just didn't care. Days turned into weeks, then months. During that time, Barnaby called only 3 times. Short, rushed conversations, filled with reasons to hang up. Jarina swallowed upon every question, every longing to be part of his life, because she didn't want to be the annoying mother. She tried to stay patient, composed, even as her heart quietly broke apart. Constance often came by the house, trying to get her out movies, walks, lunch, anything to pull her from the spiral of her thoughts. Jarina, you can't keep waiting like this. You're torturing yourself, pretending to be fine when clearly you're not. I'm fine. No, you're not. And that's okay. What's not okay is pretending. But pretending was so much easier than facing the truth. and the truth hurt too much. 2 weeks before the wedding, she decided she needed to buy something to wear. After all, she was still the mother of the groom. She went to the mall, walking from one store to another, trying on dress after dress, blouse after blouse, gown after gown. But none of them made her feel the way she wanted to feel, important, valued, like a mother of the groom should feel. Every dress made her feel smaller, dimmer. In the end, she chose a simple navy blue dress, elegant enough appropriate for a regular guest. She bought a new pair of shoes and stopped by the hair salon near her house. "Special occasion?" the stylist asked. "My son's wedding." "Oh my, that's wonderful. He must be thrilled to share that day with you." Jarina smiled. "I suppose so." A gentle lie, because lying to strangers is easier than admitting the truth. The day before the wedding, she took a long-distance bus to New York, 12 hours, but nothing like the last time. No excitement, no anticipation, just a heavy sense of dread. She arrived early. Barnaby had sent the address of a small 3-star hotel near the venue. The room was plain. She checked in, set down her suitcase, sat on the bed, and cried for just a few minutes. Then she had to stop. She needed to be calm, strong, ready. The ceremony was at 4:00 p.m. in a garden on the south side of the city. Jarina arrived early, not too early, but she didn't want to be late either. It was beautiful white flowers everywhere, elegantly arranged tables, musicians tuning their instruments. She stood at the entrance, feeling like she didn't belong there. She saw Serafina from a distance, standing among a group of beautiful women, laughing brightly. Jarina took a deep breath and walked toward her. Serafina turned her eyes, scanning Jarina from head to toe, lingering a moment on her shoes, her dress, her hair. In that 1 second, Jarina knew exactly what she was thinking. This woman doesn't belong here. But Serafina smiled, the perfect, practiced smile. "You must be Mrs. Hayes, Barnaby's mother." "Yes, it's so lovely to meet you, Serafina." Jarina leaned in to hug her, but it was a cold, polite gesture, more a formality than warmth. "It's a pleasure to meet you. Barnaby's told me so much about you." Jarina doubted that, but she smiled anyway. "You look beautiful." "Thank you." The pause between them stretched. "I'm sorry. I have to get back to the guests. You know how it is." And she walked away, not asking if Jarina was tired from the trip, not introducing her to anyone. Just walked away. Jarina stood there in that glowing garden, surrounded by strangers, feeling utterly alone. She searched for Barnaby. He was near the aisle, talking to a few men in suits. He looked happy. She walked over. "I'm here, sweetheart." He turned, gave her a quick hug. "I'm glad you made it, Mom. Thanks for coming." As if she had a choice. "How do you feel?" "Nervous." "Nervous, happy, everything at once." "That's normal, honey." Someone called him over. "Sorry, Mom. I've got to greet the guests. I'll see you later." "Okay. Of course." And she was alone again. She found her seat. Each chair had a name card. Hers was in the 3rd row, not the 1st, not even the 2nd. Those were for Serafina's parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles. Jarina, the mother of the groom, sat in the 3rd row among distant relatives and friends of the bride's family. She swallowed her tears. "It's fine," she told herself, "as long as Barnaby's happy." But it wasn't fine, not even close. The ceremony was beautiful. Barnaby looked radiant, Serafina stunning. When they exchanged vows, Jarina cried not just from joy, but from the ache of losing her son for good. After the wedding, everything fell quiet. Not the comforting kind of quiet, but the emptiness that makes you realize something precious is gone. Barnaby called only once after returning from the honeymoon a week in Cancun. that Jarina had already seen all over Serafina's social media pictures of beaches, fancy restaurants, champagne glasses, smiles, kisses. Jarina hit like on every post commenting, "You two look amazing, congratulations." Serafina never replied, not once. When Barnaby called, his voice was light, cheerful. "Hi, Mum. How have you been?" "I'm fine. How was the trip?" "Incredible. Cancun's beautiful. You should go sometime." Jarina just smiled, biting back the thought. "With what money and you? What have you been up to?" "The usual work and home. Nothing special. Not really." A long pause. "I just wanted to say hi. We're reorganizing the apartment. Serafina brought so much stuff. We're still sorting it all out." "That's fine, honey. Take care of your things. I'll call again soon." "Whenever you have time." "Sure. Take care, Mum." The line went dead. 5 minutes. The whole conversation lasted exactly 5 minutes. She sat staring at the phone, the emptiness in her chest spreading wider. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months. Barnaby called maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, short, shallow, hurried conversations. "How are you, Mum?" "I'm fine." "How are you and Serafina?" "Good. Everything's good." "I'm happy for you two." "When will you come visit?" "It's been so long." "Soon, Mum. Soon." Soon. That empty promise. He always used to quiet her, but soon never came. Jarina tried to fill her long days. Constance and she signed up for a knitting class at the community centre. She learned to knit scarves, hats, then baby blankets. One day, Constance asked, "Who are all these baby blankets for?" Jarina answered without thinking. "For when I have a grandchild." Constance just looked at her, saying nothing. They both knew that might be a long way off, or so Jarina thought. Then one Tuesday night, Barnaby called with news that took her breath away. Serafina's pregnant mom. The world around her stopped. The TV, the fridge, the traffic outside all went silent. "Mum, are you there?" Yes, I am. What did you just say?" "Serafina's pregnant. I'm going to be a dad." Tears filled her eyes. Her heart swelled, half pain, half joy. "You have no idea how happy that makes me." She meant it. After all those years of raising him alone, after everything, she was finally going to be a grandmother. "How far along is she?" 3 months. 3 months. And he was only telling her now. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "We wanted to wait through the first trimester. You know how risky it can be." "I see." But deep down she knew others must have known before her. "Is Serafina feeling well?" "She's tired but doing fine. Really excited." "I'm happy for you both. Do you know the gender yet?" "Not yet. The doctor will tell us at the next appointment." "That's wonderful. I'm so happy for you." "I'm happy too. Just a little nervous." She heard her son's real voice again, warm, sincere. "You're going to be an amazing father." "I hope so. I know you will." A brief pause, an easy silence they hadn't shared in a long time. "Thanks for always being there, Mum." She couldn't hold back her tears. "I'll always be here, Barnaby. Always." They talked for a while longer. He told her about fixing up the baby's room, about names they were considering. After hanging up, she sat and cried again, but tears of happiness. She believed this baby would bring her son back to her, that she'd finally get to be a grandmother in every sense. She was so naive. The days that followed were the happiest she'd had in months. She shared the news with Constance, with her co-workers, with the ladies in her knitting class. "I'm going to be a grandma." Everyone congratulated her, hugged her, shared her excitement. She started knitting a baby blanket blue for a boy, pink for a girl, finally settling on yellow, just to be safe. Each stitch carried love and a prayer for the little one she already loved with all her heart, though she hadn't met him yet. A few days later, she called Barnaby. "Sweetheart, I'm knitting a blanket for the baby." "That's wonderful. Thanks, Mum. Can I make a hat and tiny booties too?" "Do whatever makes you happy, Mum." "Is Serafina there?" "Let me talk to her. I want to congratulate her." Silence. "She's resting, Mum. I'll tell her to call you, promise." "Promise." But Serafina never called. Jarina sent her a message on Facebook. "Congratulations, Serafina. I'm so happy to be a grandma soon. If you need anything, I'm here." The message was read, but no reply. A week later, she tried again. "How are you feeling, sweetheart?" Sending hugs. Scene, then silence. Jarina told herself Serafina was tired, busy, but she knew the truth. She called Barnaby again. "Sweetheart, I messaged Serafina, but she didn't answer." "She's fine, Mum. Just tired." "Tell her to call me for a minute. I just want to check in." "Serafina's not big on phone calls, Mum. She prefers texting." "But I texted her and she didn't respond." "She's sensitive lately. It's the pregnancy." Another excuse. There was always an excuse keeping her away. Time passed, and the only way Jarina could follow Serafina's pregnancy was through Facebook. Serafina posted photos of her belly baby clothes the nursery. It was a boy. They were naming him Matthew. "Matthew, my grandson," Jarina commented under every post. "So adorable. Can't wait to meet you, little one. Love you both so much." Serafina never replied, though she answered everyone else's comments. Jarina tried convincing herself she was imagining things, that she was too sensitive, but it was hard to deny the truth. She sent them a package, the blanket she'd knitted, a teddy bear, and a handwritten card to her future grandson. "Grandma, can't wait to meet you. I love you more than words can say." 2 weeks later, Barnaby texted, "Got the package, Mum. Thanks. The blanket's beautiful." That was it. No photo of Serafina holding it. No thank you. Nothing. Jarina called back. "Did Serafina like it?" "Yeah, Mum. I told you. I just thought she'd call to say thank you." "Mum, she's not really the expressive type. Not even a message." "She's exhausted, Mum. Pregnancy's been tough." Same line again. "And how about you? How are you feeling?" "A bit nervous but excited. Serafina and her mum are taking prenatal classes." Jarina froze. "Serafina and her mum, not you?" "I go when I can, Mum. Work's busy." She wanted to ask why Serafina's mother got to be part of everything while she was left out, but she didn't want to sound jealous, so she stayed silent. "Sweetheart, when Matthew's born, I'll be able to visit, right?" She shouldn't have needed to ask. Of course, a grandmother has that right. But she knew things weren't that simple. "Of course, Mum." "When exactly?" "Probably after the birth. I think Serafina should rest first." "I understand. But after that I can come meet him, right?" "Definitely, Mum. We'll figure it out." "We'll figure it out." Which meant, don't count on it. "All right, Mum. Serafina's calling me. Tell her I said hi." "Sure. Take care, Mum." Jarina hung up, staring at the old photos pinned to her fridge. Barnaby as a newborn, his first day of school, his graduation. She thought of the baby she once held in her arms, now a grown man slowly pushing his mother out of his life. 32 years of love and care now replaced by distance and silence. That afternoon, Constance came by. "How's Barnaby?" "He's fine. Seraphina's pregnant." "That's wonderful. When's she due?" 3 months. "Have you made plans to visit?" Jarina stayed quiet. "Jarina, did they invite you?" Barnaby said. "Yes, but after the baby's born. Seraphina needs rest." Constance looked at her with the same knowing eyes. "Jarina, what's really going on?" Jarina looked down at her cup of tea and whispered, "I think Seraphina doesn't want me around." "Why do you think that?" "She ignores my messages, never thanked me for the gift, and Barnaby always has an excuse. Her mother gets to be part of everything, and I'm shut out." Tears filled her eyes. "I feel like they're pushing me out of my grandson's life before he's even born." Constance hugged her. "I don't know what to do anymore, Constance. I've been patient. Kept my distance, tried not to bother them, but nothing's changing." "Have you told Barnaby how you feel?" "I can't. If I say anything, they'll call me the meddling mother-in-law, the overbearing grandmother, and then I'll lose my grandson for good." Constance sighed. "You haven't lost your son, Jarina." But they both knew the truth. Jarina already had. Or at least she'd lost the son she used to know. The boy who once called her every day, told her everything, made her feel like she mattered, no longer existed. The man he'd become treated her like an obligation, a task to manage, a problem to solve. 2 weeks before her grandson was due, Jarina gathered all her courage and called Barnaby. "Sweetheart, I need to talk to you." "What's wrong, Mum?" "I want to be there when Matthew is born." Silence. "Mum, we've talked about this." "No, we haven't. You just said we'll see, but I need to know for sure now. I need to plan, buy tickets." "I don't think that's a good idea, Mum." The floor seemed to drop beneath her. "Why not?" "Seraphina's under a lot of stress. The doctor said she needs peace and quiet." "Are you saying my presence would stress her out?" "No, it's just she doesn't want too many people around." "Too many people? I'm your mother. I'm the baby's grandmother." "I know, Mum, but what?" She could hear Seraphina's voice faintly in the background. "Mum, let's talk about this later." "No, Barnaby, please just tell me the truth." A long silence followed. "Seraphina thinks maybe it's better if you wait a few days. Let us settle in first." "And what do you think?" "I have to support my wife, Mum. She's the one giving birth, the one who needs rest right now." "I wouldn't hurt her, Barnaby." "I never said you would." "Then why can't I come?" "Because she needs space." "Mum, why can't you understand that?" His voice turned sharp, defensive. "I understand, but I don't understand why Seraphina's mother can be there, and I can't. Because that's her mother and you're mine. It's different." "Different how?" "It just is. Mum, Barnaby. Please, Mum, don't make this harder. I'm already under so much stress. Seraphina's about to give birth. Work's insane. Can you just this once not make things more difficult?" Those words pierced straight through her heart. More difficult. You think me wanting to see my grandchild is making things harder? Now's not the time, Mum. Then when is the time? When I say so. The air grew cold between them. She took a deep breath. I see. I knew you'd understand. But she didn't understand anything except that her son was shutting her out of his life, out of one of its most important moments. I'll let you know when the baby's born. Do whatever you think is best. Don't be like that, Mum. I'm fine, just respecting what you and Seraphina want. Thank you. You're welcome. I love you. Love you too. But Jarina wasn't sure those words meant anything anymore. She hung up before she started crying. She sat in her chair and cried harder than she had in months. She cried for the grandchild she might never hold, for the son who'd chosen to shut her out, for the bond between them that was slowly dying while she could only watch. She cried for herself, for the woman who had given everything and was now left with nothing. The day Matthew was born was one of the strangest days of her life. Joy and pain all tangled together. She didn't get a call, a message, or any notification. She found out through Facebook. It was late afternoon, and she was mopping the last room of her shift when her phone buzzed. A Facebook notification. Normally, she'd ignore it until she got home. But for some reason, she opened it. It was a post from Serafina. The photo showed a newborn baby boy wrapped in a hospital blanket. Tiny, perfect eyes, closed, fists clenched, skin still pink, wearing a white cap. The caption read, "The love of our lives has arrived. Welcome, Matthew Hayes Thomas. Mom and baby are healthy." Jarina froze in the middle of the room, still holding the mop eyes fixed on the screen. Her grandson's face appeared, and she realized she was seeing him for the first time like a stranger. Tears streamed down her face. She sank to the floor, gloves still on, and sobbed. A co-worker, Agatha, walked in, alarmed. "Jarina, what happened? Are you okay?" She couldn't speak. She just held up her phone. "My grandson was born." "That's wonderful. Then why are you crying?" Agatha's face changed instantly. She understood everything. "Jarina," she said, helping her up, taking off her gloves and leading her to the restroom to wash her face. "Go home. I'll finish your shift." "But there's still—" "It's fine. Go call your son." Jarina grabbed her purse and left the clinic. She didn't remember how she got to the bus stop or how she made it home. All she knew was that somehow she ended up sitting in her kitchen, phone in hand, zooming in on her grandson's photo, memorizing every detail. He had Barnaby's nose, a high forehead, tiny hands that looked just like her son's when he was little. He was beautiful. She zoomed in further, his lips, his cheeks, the curve of his little fingers. There were hundreds of comments under the post. "Congratulations to you both. He's adorable. Welcome to the world." Jarina didn't comment. She didn't know what to say, or if she even had the right to say anything when she'd been excluded from the moment. Then she saw a comment from Serafina's mother. "My beloved grandson, Grandma Eleanor loves you with all her heart. Welcome to the world." So she had been there in the delivery room beside Serafina, maybe even the first to hold Matthew. Everything Jarina had dreamed of doing. She scrolled down. Friends, co-workers, relatives, all congratulating them. Everyone knew. Everyone was celebrating. Everyone except Jarina, the grandmother who found out last. She waited 1 hour, 2 hours, 3, staring at her phone, waiting for Barnaby to call, to text, to say just one sentence. "Mum, my son is here." But the screen stayed silent. By 8:00 p.m., she couldn't take it anymore. She called him herself. 6 rings before he answered. "Mum." His voice sounded tired but happy. "I saw the picture. Congratulations, sweetheart." "Oh, thanks, Mum. Is Serafina okay?" "She's fine. Exhausted, but good. It was a long labor, but everything went well." "I'm so glad. Matthew's beautiful." "Thank you." Silence. He didn't mention how she found out, didn't apologize, didn't explain. Nothing. "Barnaby, why didn't you call me?" She heard him sigh. I'm sorry, Mum. Everything happened so fast. Serafina went into labor early this morning. We rushed to the hospital. By afternoon, she delivered, and then we had paperwork and settling into the room. But you still had time to post on Facebook. That was Serafina. She had time to post, but you didn't have time to call your mother. Her voice came out sharper than she meant. Mum, please don't start. I'm not starting anything. I'm just trying to understand why I had to find out through social media. I told you it all happened so fast. So fast you couldn't spare 2 words in 12 hours. Matthew's here. I was exhausted, Mum. Not too exhausted to tell the whole internet. Mum, stop making this a big deal. A big deal? She could barely breathe. Barnaby, I'm your mother. Matthew's grandmother. I'm not some stranger online. I deserve to know first. You're right. I'm sorry. I should have called. But it's done now. You know Matthew's healthy. Everyone's fine. His apology sounded hollow. Can I come see him? The question slipped out like a plea. Mum, we've talked about this. No, we haven't. You said to wait, but now the baby's here. I don't need to wait anymore. Serafina needs to rest. I won't bother anyone. I just want to see him for a few minutes. Now's not the time. Then when is... I don't know, Mum. Give us a few days. Barnaby, he's your son. He's my grandson. Please just respect that. I do respect you, Mum, but you can't come right now. Why not? Because Serafina doesn't want visitors. And there it was. He'd finally said what she'd known all along. She doesn't want visitors. Not even her mother-in-law. She only wants close family around. I am close family, Barnaby. She said it softly, but her voice trembled with tears. Serafina's family, her parents, her sister. They were close family. Jarina was not. Mum, enough. I don't want to argue. Just give me some time. I'll tell you when you can visit. Her eyes burned, but she held back her tears. She wouldn't cry on the phone. All right, Barnaby. Thanks for understanding. But she didn't understand a thing. Take care of yourself, son. You too, he said, then hung up. She sat in the kitchen, still holding the phone, feeling the world crumble around her. Over the next 2 weeks, she followed her grandson's life through Facebook. Serafina posted every day, Matthew sleeping, yawning, his tiny hand wrapped around someone's finger lying in his crib, nursing. Each photo looked like it belonged in a magazine. In some, that other woman, Serafina's mother, Eleanor, appeared. One picture showed her holding Matthew, beaming with pride. The caption read, "With the best grandma in the world. Thank you, Mum, for being here from day one. I couldn't have done this without you." Jarina stared at that picture for hours. That grandmother got to hold him, be there, be loved and appreciated. And Jarina sat hundreds of miles away, staring at a screen, invisible, unnecessary, forgotten. At first, she still left comments. So precious. Grandma loves you. Wishing you all the best. Serafina never replied, though she responded to everyone else. After a few days, Jarina stopped. What was the point? Even her presence online wasn't welcome. Constance, her best friend, started coming over almost every day. She always found Jarina sitting at the kitchen table, eyes glued to her phone, staring at photos of a child she wasn't allowed to touch. Jarina, this isn't healthy. I know. Have you talked to Barnaby? He told me to be patient, said I'd get to meet the baby soon. It's been 2 weeks. I know. And you're just going to sit here and wait. What else can I do? You can speak up, set boundaries. Tell him this isn't fair. If I do that, they'll shut me out completely. Jarina, they already have. What else can they take from you? Constance was right, but Jarina was still afraid of losing whatever little she had left. By the third week, she decided to try one more time. She texted Barnaby. Sweetheart, it's been 3 weeks. Please let me come see Matthew. I promise I won't be a bother. I just want to hold him once, that's all. It took him 4 hours to reply. Let me talk to Serafina. 2 days later, another message. You can come this weekend, but just for 1 day. Serafina's still recovering and doesn't want too many visitors. 1 day. Just 1 day to meet her grandson, but it was better than nothing. Thank you, sweetheart. I'll be there. She booked the bus ticket that same night. The trip would take all night, and she'd arrive early Saturday morning. She packed a small bag. Even if she was only staying for a day, she picked out a nice pair of slacks, a light blouse and flat shoes, comfortable but neat. She wanted to look put together, to show Serafina she wasn't some shabby old woman, that she was someone respectable, someone worthy of dignity. She brought a few gifts, a pale blue outfit embroidered with tiny bears, a new knitted blanket with Matthew stitched on it, and inside her purse she placed an old photo of Barnaby at 5 years old, hugging her in the park. She didn't know why she brought it. Maybe because she needed something to remind her of the son who once loved his mother. Friday night, she boarded the bus. 12 hours staring out the dark window, imagining the moment she would finally hold her grandson. See his tiny face, feel his baby-soft skin, breathe him in. She had dreamed of that moment for 9 months. Saturday morning, she arrived in the city, changed clothes in a public restroom, brushed her hair, sprayed a little perfume, and put on some light makeup, even though her hands were trembling. Barnaby had told her to meet them at St. Mary's Hospital, where Matthew had a pediatric appointment. She called a cab. The traffic was terrible, but she made it. In the waiting room, she saw Serafina holding Matthew, her son, sitting beside her, eyes glued to his phone. Her heart pounded so hard she could barely breathe. She walked toward them slowly, as if approaching something sacred. Barnaby? He looked up, his face a mix of surprise and unease. I'm here. He just nodded, didn't stand up, didn't hug her. Good morning. She smiled and turned to Serafina. Serafina glanced at her from head to toe, examining every detail, before giving a small, polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. Jarina, how nice. You made it. Thank you for letting me come. Her voice came out softer than she wanted. She looked down at the baby in Serafina's arms. Matthew, my grandson, you're beautiful. Thank you. May I hold him? Serafina tightened her arms around the baby. He's asleep. If I move him, he'll wake up and fuss. That's okay. I can wait. Jarina sat down beside them, trying to keep things light. Barnaby stayed focused on his phone. Serafina stared straight ahead, and Jarina stared at the baby, trying to glimpse his little face through the blanket. How are you feeling? Jarina asked quietly. Fine. Just tired. That's normal. The first days are always tough. Yeah. Silence. Is he feeding well? Yes. Sleeping? Okay, more or less. Each answer short cold, a reminder that Serafina didn't want to talk to her. 20 heavy minutes passed. Finally Matthew stirred, opening his eyes, making a soft sound. Now, maybe I can hold him, Jarina asked, hopeful. Serafina held him tighter. He's hungry. I need to feed him. She stood and walked straight to the restroom before Jarina could say another word. Jarina sat there with Barnaby, humiliation washing over her. How are you doing, sweetheart? I'm fine, Mum. But he didn't look at her. Serafina stayed inside for half an hour. When she came out, the doctor called their name. They both went in, while Jarina stayed behind like a stranger in the waiting area. 45 minutes later, they came out. Serafina was talking to the doctor about the next appointment holding Matthew. Barnaby walked beside her, carrying the bag. Neither of them looked at Jarina. She hurried to catch up. "How did it go, honey?" "Everything's great. Matthew's healthy, growing fast." "That's wonderful. Maybe we could go to your place. I'd love to see where you live." Barnaby and Serafina exchanged glances. "Actually, Mom, Serafina's tired. We were going to grab something to eat and then rest. I can come along." They exchanged another look. "My family's coming over this afternoon," Serafina said, meeting Jarina's eyes. "It'll be crowded." "That's okay. I'd like to meet them." "It wouldn't be comfortable. It'll be noisy. You'll get tired. I will too." She said it like she was being considerate, but Jarina knew they just wanted her gone. She looked at Barnaby, hoping he'd say, "Mum, you're my mother. Of course you can stay." But he only put his hand on her shoulder and said softly, "Mum, please don't make this harder." Those same words again. She felt something break inside her. "All right," she answered, her voice strange even to herself. "I understand." "Really?" Barnaby said, relieved. "Yeah, thanks, Mum. I knew you'd understand." They stopped at a cafe near the hospital. Jarina ordered a sandwich she couldn't swallow. The conversation was stiff, awkward. Serafina nursed the baby at the table, pulling a blanket over her shoulder. Jarina turned her head to give her privacy, though all she wanted was to look at the child. An hour later, Barnaby checked his watch. "Mum, it's getting late. We'll take you to the bus station." She had travelled 12 hours, met them for 2, and now they were sending her back. So soon. "Serafina needs to rest before her family comes over." Jarina nodded. Outside, Barnaby hailed a taxi, and it was in that cab that she finally held her grandson. 5 minutes. Just 5 short minutes. Serafina handed Matthew to her hesitantly, as if afraid Jarina might drop something precious. She took him in her trembling arms. His tiny body was soft and warm, smelling faintly of milk. His eyes were closed lashes, long and curled cheeks, round lips, softly sucking even in sleep. She touched his small hand, warm, delicate, and his tiny fingers instinctively wrapped around hers. "My sweet grandson, Matthew," she whispered. Tears rose, but she held them back. She wouldn't cry. She kissed his forehead and murmured, "Hello, darling. I'm Jarina, your grandma. I'm sorry I couldn't be here sooner. I love you so much." The cab reached the station too soon. Serafina reached out to take him back. Jarina looked at Matthew one last time, memorizing every line, every shade of his skin, the warmth of his little body in her hands. Before letting go, Barnaby got out with her, grabbing her suitcase. "Thanks for coming, Mum." "Of course, honey." He hugged her quickly, awkwardly. "Take care." "You too. Call me when I can, Mum." He climbed back in and before closing the door said, "Thanks for understanding." She didn't answer. The car drove off. She stood there watching until it disappeared into traffic. Alone at the station entrance, her suitcase by her feet. She felt as if the whole Churchill had collapsed. 12 hours travelling, 2 hours visiting, 5 minutes holding her grandson, 12 hours returning. And inside her was a pain. So real, so sharp, it felt like someone had opened her chest and taken out the most vital part. She went inside, bought a bottle of water she couldn't drink, sat on a plastic bench waiting for the bus, and pulled out her phone. Serafina had just posted a new photo breakfast at the cafe. She and Barnaby were smiling, Matthew asleep between them. The caption read, "A perfect morning with the ones I love." Jarina wasn't in the picture as if she had never been there, as if she had never existed. And right there in that crowded, noisy bus terminal, she finally understood everything. They didn't want her in their lives. Serafina would never accept her, and Barnaby had made his choice. Her son had chosen to erase his mother. The bus arrived. She boarded, found a window seat. During the long ride home, she didn't cry. She didn't even look outside. She just took out the old photo of Barnaby at 5 years old, hugging her in the park, and stared at it for hours. She tried to remember when everything had changed. When the boy who once needed his mother became the man who saw her as a burden. When love turned into obligation. When she became invisible in his eyes. She got home at dawn. The first light slipping through the taxi window. The house was exactly as she'd left it, quiet and empty. She set down her suitcase, hung her purse by the door, and sat at the kitchen table. The same table where Barnaby and she once shared meals, laughter, and even tears. She made a cup of coffee, not because she was hungry, but to fill the silence. And right there in that familiar kitchen, sipping the bitter coffee, her life changed. The phone rang. A strange number from New York. Her heart tightened. Maybe Barnaby. Maybe he regretted everything and wanted to apologize. She picked up. "Hello? Is this Mrs. Jarina Hayes?" It wasn't her son's voice. It was a woman's professional, detached tone. "Yes, speaking." "Good morning, Mrs. Hayes. I'm calling from the finance department at St. Mary's Hospital." Her blood turned cold. "We need to clarify payment for Mrs. Serafina Thomas's delivery bill. Your daughter-in-law," she continued. "Insurance covered most of the charges, but there's a remaining balance of $10,000 for the private room's special medication and additional procedures. Your son, Mr. Barnaby Hayes, listed your phone number as the emergency contact for payment. Emergency contact for money. He hadn't called her in 3 weeks, hadn't let her near when her grandchild was born, had given her only 2 hours to visit and 5 minutes to hold him, but he'd given them her number to collect the bill. "Mrs. Hayes, are you still there?" She breathed slowly, her heart pounding. Everything rushed back. The years of cleaning houses from dawn to pay his school fees. The sleepless nights when he was sick. The store she sold so he could go to college. Every drop of sweat, every tear, every sacrifice that put him before herself. She thought of how he'd treated her, how he'd pushed her away, humiliated her again and again, and now another humiliation, turning her into an ATM as if money were her only worth. "Can you make the payment this week?" the woman asked briskly. Jarina took a deep breath. Something inside her shattered, but not from pain, from awakening. "Mrs. Hayes, we need a response. Otherwise, we'll have to start legal procedures which could affect your son's credit." Her voice came out calm, steady, clearer than ever. "I don't have any family in New York." A pause. "I'm sorry, but according to our records, you're the mother of patient Barnaby Hayes." "Then your records are wrong." "That's impossible, ma'am. Your son provided this information himself." Jarina cut her off, her voice unfamiliar even to her. "Then he made a mistake. I don't have a son named Barnaby Hayes. I don't have any family in New York. And I have nothing to do with the bill you're calling about." "But ma'am, goodbye." She hung up. She set the phone down on the table. Her hands were shaking, her heart pounding, but she felt something she thought she'd lost strength. Control. She felt herself returning to herself. For the first time, she said no to her son, and nothing fell apart. The sky was still blue. She was still breathing. 3 days passed, and Barnaby didn't call. 3 days of complete silence. Jarina didn't turn her phone back on after that call. She left it on the kitchen table, powered off a reminder of the choice she had made. On the second day, Constance stopped by. "Have you talked to Barnaby?" "No." "Maybe he'll call when the hospital tells him I didn't pay." "And when he does—" Jarina trailed off, but she did know. She just wasn't ready to say it out loud. On the third day, she turned her phone back on. 27 missed calls, all from Barnaby. 15 messages starting urgent, then desperate, then angry. The first. "Mum, I need to talk to you now. Please call me." The third. "Mum, the hospital said you refused payment. What's going on?" The seventh. "Mum, this is serious. Call me back." The 10th. "I can't believe you did this. Call me now." The last. "Serafina was right about you. You're always selfish." Jarina read that word again and again. Selfish. The woman who worked 2 shifts for years. The woman who sold her late husband's store to send her son to college. The woman who scrubbed floors reeking of bleach so her child could have a future. Now she was selfish. There were 2 voicemails. The first was strained, almost pleading. "Mom, please call me. The hospital's pressuring us. I don't understand why you told them you have no family here. What did you mean by that? Please call me." The second was cold. "Never mind. We'll find another way to pay. But you should know this says a lot about you. After everything we've been through, I can't believe you do this when we need you most." Serafina was right. "You've always tried to control me with money, but it won't work this time." Jarina didn't call back. She didn't respond. The next week, Barnaby kept calling less often, but still trying. She stayed silent until she received an email. The subject line read, "We need to talk." She opened it and read slowly, "Mum, I don't understand what's happening. I don't understand why you're not answering. I don't understand why you told the hospital you have no family here. Do you know how embarrassing that was for us?" Serafina cried. She felt humiliated when the hospital contacted her directly. "We just had a baby. We're trying to adjust, and you do this. Dad used to say family helps each other in hard times, that we can rely on each other. I've always helped you when you needed it. When Dad died, I was there for you. When you were struggling, I listened. When you needed help, helped. And now when I need you, you do this. I don't understand how you've changed." Serafina just wanted a little privacy after giving birth. That's normal, but you took it as an insult. Now the hospital's threatening legal action. Our credit's at risk. All because you wanted to play the victim and deny your own son. Please think about this, Mum. Think about Matthew. Think about your grandson. This isn't about you or me. It's about him. If you don't want to help, fine, but at least have the courage to tell me directly instead of this silence." Jarina read that letter 3 times. Each line felt like a small knife cutting into her heart, making her feel guilty, selfish, wrong. And maybe for a moment it worked. She thought, maybe he's right. He's under pressure. A new father. He needs help. Maybe I'd been too harsh. Maybe I should apologize, make peace. But then she read that one line again. "I've always helped you when you needed it." When had he ever helped her? When his father died. She was the one who held him rebuilt. Their lives sold. The store worked herself to exhaustion so he could study. Where had he been the last 2 years? When she was lonely, when she just wanted to hear his voice, when they excluded her from her grandson's birth, when they gave her 2 hours after a 12-hour bus ride, when Serafina treated her like a stranger. Where was he? There was no help. Only silence and excuses. And now, because she'd set a boundary, she was the villain. She opened the reply window, typed, and erased more than 100 times. She wanted to scream, to pour out every wound, every betrayal. But in the end, she wrote only this. Barnaby, you're right about one thing. Your father did say family should help each other. But he also taught that family means respect, care, and not turning your back when someone you love needs you most. I asked to be close to you. I asked to see my grandchild. I had begged to be part of his life. But you said I was intrusive, that I was a burden, that you needed peace at home. I travelled 12 hours just to meet Matthew. And you gave me 2 hours, 5 minutes holding him, then sent me away like I was an inconvenience. You never called when he was born. I found out through Facebook. You never included me in anything unless it involved money. I won't pay that bill, Barnaby. Not because I don't love you or care about Matthew, but because I can't let you keep treating me as if my only worth is financial. I'm your mother. I deserve respect. I deserve a place in your life. I deserve more than to be a name on a billing form. I hope you and Serafina find a solution, but not at the cost of my dignity. If someday you truly want a real relationship with me, one where I matter too, I'll be here. Until then, I wish you both the best. Jarina sent the email before she could regret it, then shut down the computer. 2 hours later, a reply came, but she didn't read it until the next morning. Can't believe how selfish you are. Serafina was right about you from the start. Goodbye. That was it. No thought, no effort to understand, no apology. Just Serafina was right. And goodbye. The weeks turned into months. Barnaby didn't call, didn't text. Jarina didn't reach out either. At first it was hard. Some days she picked up the phone, one tap away from calling, but she stopped. Some nights she wondered if she was wrong, but Constance kept her steady. Jarina, you didn't do anything wrong. You just set a boundary. That doesn't make you a bad mother. It makes you a woman with self-respect. Jarina slowly learned to live with the silence. She stopped checking Facebook, stopped searching for Matthew's photos, stopped wounding herself with glimpses of a life she wasn't part of. She focused on herself again. She returned to the knitting class, took morning walks, spent afternoons with Constance. She reread old books that once brought her joy stories that helped her forget the pain for a while. And little by little, she began to feel something like peace. Not happiness, not yet, but peace. And for now, that was enough. 6 months after her last conversation with Barnaby, Constance asked her, "Do you regret it?" Jarina thought for a long time before answering, "No, I don't." Why not? Because for the first time in my life, I chose myself, and that's worth more than any relationship I have to beg love for. Constance smiled. That's the Jarina I know. Life has a strange way of surprising us. Just when Jarina had started to breathe again, to live more lightly, the phone rang. A number from New York. This time she didn't hesitate. "Hello? Is this Mrs. Jarina Hayes?" "Yes, hello. I'm Fernanda Ruiz, a social worker from St. Mary's St. Mary's Hospital. Yes, please don't worry. Your daughter-in-law, Mrs. Serafina Thomas, was admitted in an emergency 2 days ago. She suffered a severe mental breakdown. She's stable now, but we need a family member to temporarily care for the baby." The world stopped. "The baby? Yes, Matthew, 1.5 years old. Your son is here with his wife, but he can't take care of both her and the child. He listed you as the second family contact." "Second, not first." "My son is still there." "Yes. Would you like me to transfer you to him?" "No." The word came out instinctively. "I understand, but we really need someone to pick up the baby. He's at a temporary care centre, but they can only keep him until tomorrow morning. After that, we'll have to contact another agency. Jarina closed her eyes. A year and a half without speaking, without seeing, without hearing from them. A year and a half of rebuilding peace. And now this. Mrs. Hayes, what happened to Serafina? According to her file, she's suffering from stress anxiety and postpartum depression. She needs rest and treatment. Your son is by her side, but they're facing financial difficulties. He lost his job. They've been living with Serafina's parents. Tensions have been rising, and now everything has collapsed. You're their last option. Jarina stayed silent for a few seconds. Can you come for the child? She thought of Matthew, the innocent baby born into chaos. She thought of Barnaby, how he had hurt her, pushed her away, and only reached out when he needed something. She thought of herself, the woman who had spent a year healing and finding calm again. Then she made her decision. She would come, because he was her grandson, and she would go on her own terms. She took the night bus, another 12-hour trip. But this one was different. She wasn't begging. She was going because she chose to. When she arrived at the hospital, dawn was breaking. Barnaby sat in the waiting room, exhausted shirt, wrinkled dark circles under his eyes. When he saw her, he broke down and hugged her. Mum, I'm sorry. You were right about everything. Jarina just placed her hand on his shoulder. Where's Matthew? At the care centre a few blocks away. Let's go. On the way, he told her everything. He'd lost his job in New York, moved in with Serafina's parents, and everything fell apart. Serafina's depression, their marriage breaking down. I treated you terribly, Mom. I made you feel invisible. Now I understand. When they arrived, Matthew was playing with a toy car. He looked up at her, curious. Hi, Matthew. I'm Jarina. She stepped closer. He hugged her, small, shy, and in that moment, something inside her healed. In the months that followed, Jarina took care of Matthew, while Serafina received treatment, and Barnaby worked temporary jobs. She lived in their small apartment, cooking, cleaning, caring for her grandson. 2 weeks later, Serafina was discharged. When she saw Jarina, she burst into tears. I'm sorry, I was scared. Scared I wasn't good enough. Scared you'd judge me like my own mother did. That's in the past. No, not yet. But I want to make it right. Please give me a chance. Jarina gave her that chance. It wasn't easy. There were painful talks, tears, but they learned to rebuild. Not perfectly, but honestly. Barnaby learned that a marriage can't survive by cutting out family. Serafina learned that fear and pride can destroy everything. And Jarina learned that her worth doesn't depend on how much others need her, but on whether they respect her. Life has its own way of restoring balance. Barnaby, who once pushed her away, thinking he was protecting his happiness, nearly lost everything. His job, his home, his pride, and realized that shutting out those who love you only leaves you lonelier. Serafina, who once saw Jarina as a threat, crumbled under the weight of her own pride. She learned that perfection is impossible, and that the help she once rejected was the very thing she needed most. And Jarina, the woman once treated as invisible, became the one to catch them when they fell, not out of revenge, but because she chose to. The years that followed changed everything. Barnaby found stable work. Serafina continued therapy. Jarina visited often but always kept boundaries. Matthew grew up knowing he had a grandmother who loved him and who also loved herself. One day, Serafina told her, My mother was never gentle. I swore I'd never let anyone hurt Matthew like she hurt me, but in trying to protect him, I hurt you instead. Thank you for not giving up on us. On the anniversary of that hospital call, Barnaby phoned. Mum, the day you said, I don't have family there, broke me, but it also woke me up. It was the best thing you ever did. Justice didn't come through revenge, it came through lessons. Barnaby learned that respect must be earned, not demanded. Serafina learned that pride only brings loneliness. And Jarina learned that letting go with dignity is stronger than clinging in despair. A few years have passed. Matthew is now 4.5. Every time Jarina visits, he runs to her shouting, "Grandma Jarina!" She doesn't have to beg for hugs anymore. She's no longer the second choice. She's his grandmother, and that's enough. Barnaby and Jarina talk every week, real, honest conversations. Serafina and Jarina aren't close, but there's respect, and that's worth more than any forced affection. Last month at Matthew's preschool graduation, he spotted her in the crowd. Smiled, ran into her arms and said, "I love you, Grandma." Surrounded by other families, Jarina finally felt like she belonged, not because she begged for it, but because she deserved it. This morning, she looked into her old leather bag and took out 2 photos. One of Barnaby as a child, and another of the 4 of them, Barnaby, Serafina, Matthew, and herself, laughing together in the park, a recent picture. Both photos told the same story of a woman who gave. Everything was broken, learned to let go, and finally found herself again. If you saw yourself in Jarina's story, remember this. Setting boundaries is the right thing. Saying no is the right thing. Walking away from those who don't value you, even if they are family, is the right thing. Because love doesn't mean enduring everything. Love also means respecting yourself. Jarina once thought being a good mother meant always being there no matter the cost. But she learned that being a good mother also means teaching your children that no one, not even them, has the right to make you feel worthless. Not every ending is a perfectly happy fairy tale ending, but some endings are fair. Now at 65, Jarina is happy. Not because life is perfect, but because her joy no longer depends on anyone else. She has her grandson, her son, an honest relationship, and most importantly, she has herself, and that's what matters most. If you're struggling to find your own peace, know that you are not alone. Your story matters, and it carries strength for others. Subscribe for more stories of resilience, growth, and the quiet power of self-worth. May your journey bring you peace.